Okay guys, here we go. This is the third in a series of watercolor paintings that I'm working with you guys on, teaching you different techniques. And today we're going to learn about a graded wash. Do you see how the pigment starts nice and intense, and then as the value gets lighter and lighter and lighter toward the horizon? And then we're going to work some more with layers, because boy, layering is a very important concept in watercolor painting. I did this one in two different colors because I couldn't decide which one I liked the best. And I like them both. This one kind of makes me think of cool weather, winter time. This one maybe was in the fall. And I think today, just for fun, I'm going to use purple to do this whole painting. You could probably use any color you want. I wouldn't use yellow though, because it doesn't have, it's not quite dark enough to get this effect across. So you might want to use red or orange or blue or purple. It's up to you. And I'm going to use purple today. Okay, looking at our house, we have what we call a one-point perspective here. And we have an imaginary vanishing point that would be over here. And I'm going to do some perspective lessons with you younger kids later on. The older kids have had these lessons. But for now, we're just going to kind of fake it through there. The size and shape of your house, it's not that critical, but we do need to get the perspective accurate so that things don't look wonky. So here we go. We're going to go about a third of the way up on your paper here for the beginning of your horizon line, and then a little bit down here so we have the houses on a nice little hill. So just do a gentle little line. Remember to sketch very, very lightly, kind of coming down this hill here. Very lightly. I'm doing it a little bit darker than I want you to do it, just so that make sure it shows up in the video. Okay, looking at this side of our house, we're going to go up here, make the roof, make this face here, and then do this side here. So we're going to start out making the 4, 2, 3, 4 little vertical lines. Okay, put one here. About from the tip of your finger to the back of your first knuckle is about tall enough. Then we'll make another one here, then here, and then this one needs to be quite a bit closer. Do you see how close I've got that? Let me show you why. When we are looking at the side of something from a distance, even though this face of the house may be as wide as this, it looks very much smaller from our point of view. Okay, after you get those 4 lines, go ahead and sketch across the top of your eave here. Go up a ways here, go up a ways here. Okay, now here is the top of the apex of the roof here. So I'm gonna sketch my lines on up a bit, just so that it's easy for me to plot where center would be. You don't have to measure it or anything, but just plot where center would be. And then a ways up from your eave, you're going to put a dot here and a dot here, making it straight across. So let's make a nice line straight across here, very light sketching, and continuing that eave line at about this angle going down the side. Remember the vanishing point we talked about. Okay, let's do the eave here and here. And now we're going to go up here a ways. You don't want to go all the way up because we want this part right here to go above here. So let's pick a point about right there, and then check out this angle here. That's the side of our house, our roof. Let's go straight through here, nice straight line. And now we're going to do this part of the house. The orange one shows up better. We're going to do this part of the house right here. This can be a little tricky. So we've already done the side down here. So you need to pick about center. And it needs to be, of course, right where the top of your roof goes. So let's put a dot there. Then we're going to go down like this and down like that. And we've got the mechanics of our house done. Let's go ahead and erase lines that we don't want here. And make your reference dots quite a bit lighter so they don't show through your painting. Okay, the mechanics of our house is finished now. We're going to do the fence. I love the way this fence is. So we draw little pieces of fence in front of the house, and they're going to be very, very light because we always want contrast to make things show up. Then we'll make the pieces of the fence going down the hill. So this doesn't have to be highly accurate. One thing I love about watercolor is it's very loose and free. So make you some fence posts. You don't even have to put a top on them. about the same size, about the same distance apart. Let's put one here, and then on down the side of the hill, about the same distance apart. And if one's fatter and one's skinnier, that doesn't really matter, because these fence posts are made out of chunks of wood that they found they were able to make a fence out of. Okay, our drawing is finished, and now we're going to start the painting. If you have any kind of a board, if we were in the classroom, I'd have these watercolor boards for you to use. You can just tape it right to the table, but when we're painting the sky, it's a little easier to have something to pick it up on. So remember, we always write our name on the back of our work, so when it comes in, I'm unloading all of these packages with your wonderful work. I'll know whose is whose. And you might want to get some tape, a few pieces of tape, so your watercolor paper doesn't curl too much. Okay, tape it down. I've got a kind of a smudge up here, but that's going to disappear. I'm not going to worry about it, but I am going to lighten my reference dots here so that they don't show too much. I wonder if that'll erase. Yeah, that's okay. I'm going to cover that with purple paint. Okay, if you have some kind of a board that you've got your work on, then let's go ahead and turn it upside down, because looking at this wash, we're going to put it on like this, and then we're going to tip it this way so that the paint kind of wanders down here. There's going to be lots of layers in this painting, and you're going to need to make sure that you get your painting completely dry before you go on to the next layer. I may not have emphasized that enough last time, because some paintings came back and the layers had bled together. So make sure that each layer you do, you get it nice and dry. You can use a hairdryer, my lovely hairdryer here. You can use a hairdryer, or you can just leave it sit, pause the video, and come back later. Okay, here we go with our purple. I did not moisten my purple, but you might want to go ahead and do that. The purple has so much pigment in it that it doesn't take long for it to soften. Okay, go ahead and moisten. Remember, we don't stir or dig in our paints. We're just laying water in the top of our little paint, little divot there. Alrighty. Now, remember last time we would wet an area and then lay color into it. Remember, that's called wet in wet painting. So we're going to wet the entire horizon down to about here, because we want the water color to crawl. It's going to take lots of brushes full of paint, so make sure we're tipping this way so we don't have any big streams of water going down here. Tipping this way. If it gets under there, that's okay. You're just moistening your paper. It's going to curl up a little bit, but that's what watercolor paper does. The kind of paper that you guys have to do your project on is a cold press watercolor paper, which is very, very nice. This, what I've got here at the house, is not cold press, but it still works nicely. Okay, getting water almost all the way down to the horizon. Now the secret with this is that our wash fades into pure white. Okay, make sure that your paper is completely shiny, showing you that it's all nice and wet. Some of it soaked in, so I'm going to wet it again over here. All right, now we're ready to lay in some color. Take my purple, lay it down flat, just have a nice big stripe across here like this. Oh, that's looking cool. Ooh, I'm going to like this purple. Okay, now you're going to pick your painting up, and not too fast. You don't want it streaming down. But we're going to blend this down into the horizon. See how I'm not picking up any more paint? I'm just letting this blend. Oh, that is very cool. I think we're almost done with that part. I might put a little bit more along the top so we have more contrast. Very gently. If you were in the classroom, I'd show you that when we're painting with this, it's almost like a feather touch. Some of you may remember that I've come around and shown you on your arm or on the back of your hand how gently I'm touching the paper, especially with our subsequent layers, with the layers that we're going to do. Okay, look how it's kind of streaming down there. We don't want it to stream too much. Okay, I'm going to let this set for just a minute. I don't want to use the hairdryer just yet, because look at all those cool streaks I'm getting. That is so awesome. Now I've got kind of a line here, so I'm going to add a little bit of water, of clean water, to help that to crawl down a little bit more gently. If you get some big pockets of water, we're going right over the top of our house, because remember, we're putting other layers on there. Just kind of smooth them out like that. Okay, I'm going to let this set. Oh, that's looking cool. It almost looks like it's going to rain. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause the video because I want that to dry naturally. Okay, I let this dry pretty much naturally. I laid it down after I was happy with how far it was walking down the paper there, so it didn't want to have any runs going down there. If that does happen, all you have to do is take a clean brush of water. Let's pretend like I have a glob of paint somewhere where I don't want it. Let's say I have a glob right here. Get you a paper towel and nice clean water, and you can just lift it out. See how I'm just lifting it out. This purple has a lot of pigment in it, so it's kind of staining the paper. But we're going to put a layer over the top of that anyway. Maybe that's going to be a rock. Just lift it out. Very forgiving. Watercolor is just awesome. Okay, so I fixed that little boo-boo in case I had one. Maybe one more try here. You don't want to paint so hard that you disturb the surface of your paper. Very, very gently. Remember the feather touch. Okay, this is dry to the touch. So I'm going to turn it so I'm facing it, and we're going to do our second layer, which is going to be all of the house here. And even over the top of these fence posts, because then we'll go back and we'll create contrast by putting second and third layers here and on these fence posts here. All of the house and all of the ground. Okay, remember, wet in wet, so to keep your watercolor from crawling up into the sky, go ahead and paint your house. I hope you can see it with water. Gently, 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 feather touch. And I'm just getting little teeny weeny bits of water when I go back. Let me show you. So I've just barely put my brush in, just little bits of water. If you get too much, you're going to get in trouble. You need to do this layer relatively quickly because it is going to dry on you. These lights that I've got illuminating my table here so I can make a good video are really making my watercolors dry quickly. In my little home studio here. Maybe one of these videos I'll give you a quick little tour of the Davis Hacienda. Okay, I've got my house and now my ground. I completely cover that with water. Going very gently. Try not to drip up into your sky. Your sky is so awesome, you don't want to do anything to mess with that. Keeping your painting nice and wet. Remember, we want to make sure that it's shiny. And as you're painting your layer over the ground and over the house, some of it may soak in and get kind of dry. Just go back and get some more water. Okay, I'm ready to start laying in some more purple there. The purple is very, very pigment heavy, so you've got to be careful not to overdo it. We want to do, oh, see, I'm overdoing it. So I'm getting water in my brush and I'm thinning that out. It's just, if you put your water on the right places, then it should just kind of walk to where it needs to be. Okay, I'm doing this whole house. Just trying to get away from me there. Just use my finger and pull that in. Doing all of this. And try and keep your color pretty much even. If you get pockets of color that are just too intense, just lift it out like I showed you when we made our pretend boo-boo. Okay, looking good, looking good. A little bit more water here and some more paint because this purple is intense. Oh, that's pretty. Purple is Mr. Davis's favorite color, so he's going to like this painting. A little bit more here. Lots of water. See, I'm starting to get dry down here, so I need to use lots of water. Spread that around. Don't get it too dark. Just keep going back. I'm not getting any more paint right now. I'm just spreading around the paint that I've got. It's going to be a little bit tricky where these fence posts are, but most of you have these really cool brushes in your paint kit that come to a nice point. So, okay, keeping your brush strokes horizontal here, so it looks like the ground. Okay, and I'm not even going to go back and get any more paint, but I am going to smooth this out a little bit. Lift some of the paint from up here and put it here, right along the edge there. Okay, here we go with, I got a little goober there, but I think that's just going to be some grass. Each one of my little fence posts out here are just going to have one layer. There you go. That part is done. Now remember what I said about making sure that each of these layers is nice and dry. I'm going to lift out some more color up here. There we go. That's going to work out just fine. Okay, I'm going to let this dry. It's finished walking around, so I'm going to go ahead and use the hairdryer on it. You can pause the video or you can use your hairdryer. If you do use a hairdryer, make sure you don't have a bubble of paint that when the force of the air is going to push it up into your sky. So always, if there's lots of wetness, use the slow setting on your hairdryer. Okay, my painting is dry now, and we're going to put the second layer on this part right here. So the second layer is going to be all of the top of the house, the roof of the house, and the front of the house, and the fence post going down here. We're finished with this, and we're finished with the front of the house. So here we go with the water. Very gently, because if you're not gentle enough, you're going to wipe off the layer below. So layer number 2, 3, I guess this is. A little bit of water here. Remember, we're not doing the face of the house. This part right here is finished except for the detail work. So I want to come down this side, and we don't want to paint over our fence posts. They are finished. So very carefully paint between your fence posts. You need to do this kind of, I say do it slowly, and then I say do it quickly because it's going to dry. But get some water down in there. And it's going to be real easy to overdo this purple. If you're using purple, be careful you don't overdo it. Okay, now I'm going to start laying some color in. Getting some water on my brush, get a little bit of purple, and start up here. Little bits right along the top. The whole front of the house, except for the most of the lights coming from the right on this painting, are what we call our light source. Okay, remember to go around your fence posts. We don't want any more paint on the fence posts. I'm just getting little microscopic amounts of paint here. If it looks kind of blotchy, it's actually going to be okay, because we're going to do another couple of layers on the part of the house that's facing us. Alrighty, got my horizon line. Got around my fence posts. And kind of defining my edges here. Okay, now we're going to do a second layer on the fence posts that are out here in the yard. Very carefully, we're going to put one, cover that one. Oh, that is dark. I'm going to lift some of that out because that's a little too dark. You see how I did that? Just kind of lifted some of the paint out of there. Little tiny bits of paint. I want to make sure I'm not getting too much. There we go. There we go, that's what I want. Kind of dab it along there. Okay, that layer is finished. I'm going to define my edges just a little bit better. Kind of gone beyond my pencil mark, but that's okay. Along the top here. Along this side of the eave. Okay, back to the hairdryer. That layer dried really quickly. The next layer we're going to do is just the face of the house and maybe a little bit more on these fence posts. This one's kind of dark. I may put some more here. So just this part right here. Here we go with our, now I'm not going to, it's kind of hard to see where my lines are. I don't know if you can see them or not in the video. I can barely see where the side of my house is. But looking back at the reference, I can kind of guess where that needs to be. So I'm not doing wet and wet this time. We're adding a layer on the top, and that is a little too dark, so I'm cleaning my brush out, getting some more water, coming down. I remember this line is here, so I'm going to go up and out like that. Taking this paint I've already got on here and spreading it out. Lift some paint up over here, and we're not doing the roof part here, just the front. Lifting up some of this paint and bringing it down. You don't have to be in quite such a big hurry here. You can be a little bit more accurate. If you're using purple, remember to get just tiny baby bits. Okay, it looks like we're going to town here. Whoops, I almost got too much. So what do? I get more water in my brush and spread it out. Make sure you define your edges. This is an old house, or maybe a couple of boards that are coming off of it. There's one right there that's fallen off. Okay, now we're going to go from the eave across to here. With this dark purple, my line has pretty much disappeared, but I can kind of guess where it is. Getting more water instead of more paint. Blend that into there. More water. Put some more paint on there. Now my paper has wrinkled up and is a little bit lumpy, but you know that's cool, because that's going to mean when we're finished, the light is going to look like it's hitting different parts of the house. Okay, that layer is finished. Well, not that layer, but that part is finished. And I am going to put just a little bit more on this fence post and this fence post. And a little bit more here so that they're all about the same value. All right, very cool. Maybe a little bit more accuracy here on the edges of my fence post. Maybe make them a little bit skinnier. And you see how I'm blending what I just did into what's already there so it doesn't look blotchy. Alrighty then. Okay, we are almost done. Now you're going to take your brush and remember to roll and pull, and that gives you a nice point. Get a tiny baby bit of paint, and we're going to do the underneath shadow side of this eave right here, and then the underneath shadow side of this eave right here. And you are finished. When this dries, you'll see all of the different values and how it shows the dimension and the perspective in your house. All right, good job, guys. And I can't wait to see these paintings finished. God bless you. Stay inspired and keep making art.